Hello and welcome to the Philippines. Going to chat a little bit about the U.S. Embassy, Social Security here in the Philippines. I'm in Cebu City, Cebu, the Philippines, and we have a consulate here, U.S. Consulate. There's also many consulates from other countries here in Cebu City as well. Some of you from the different countries will be interested in that. Now you can do many things at a consulate that you can do at an embassy, but not everything. My understanding is that you used to be able to deal with Social Security issues at the consulate here in Cebu City. That's no longer the case. The good news is that in September of 2019, next month, for a couple of days, they are going to have Social Security people in town at the consulate, which is at the waterfront hotel here in Cebu City, and it's not very far from Ayala Mall, not very far from IT Park. And I will give you the information on the dates and times and information that you have to provide them if you have any issues you want to deal with. This is an email I received from a friend that many of you may be interested in, U.S. Embassy representative from the Social Security Administration, or at the U.S. Consulate in the Waterfront Hotel in Cebu City on September 12th, Thursday, September 11th, Wednesday, September 11th, and Thursday. And it gives the times there. And these are the services that will be provided there. Now, generally, there was a time when Social Security was handled at the consulates around the world, and I understand that is no longer the case, so that you have to go to an embassy either in Manila or contact people back in the U.S. Not sure what services are provided in Manila. And here are some of the information things, and you will be required to show up with your original documents and copies of those documents. They will look at the originals. They will keep your copies so that they may process whatever issues you may have. So let's just go down here a little bit further. To expedite your visit, please bring both original and photocopies of documents that you need to submit to the Social Security Administration. They will keep the photocopies. You will keep the original. And if you need to contact them, it gives phone numbers here. And if you need to contact them, there's some phone numbers there. But anyway, wherever you're from, you should be aware of your U.S. Embassy as you travel around the world and what their services are. And go down here, first of all, right up here at the top. And I'm just going to click on that to see if there is travel advisories. And what do they say? Security alert, U.S. Embassy. This is April 2019. And this is a new travel advisory. It looks like this is the latest one here, April 15th. Exercise increased caution in the Philippines due to crime, terrorism, civil unrest, measles outbreak, and kidnapping. Well, that sounds like 90% of the countries in the world, probably. And we go to U.S. Citizen Services. They do have emergency assistance. You can call them. I believe you can email them information about parental child abduction. That happens when a marriage splits up and a person from one country takes the child, takes him to another country. Arrest of a U.S. citizen, death of a U.S. citizen, something that you should be aware of. Victims of crime. Emergency financial assistance. For some of you who come with little money and little in the way of a backup plan and you run out of money, the embassy has financial assistance. I don't think they just hand you money. They may pay for a They may pay for you to get a flight back to the U.S. or wherever you come from, but I think they expect to be paid back at some point in time. Uh, First thing they will ask you, have you contacted family? Have you contacted friends? Is there another way for you to get this money? And then they have passport services, passports. If you need to renew your passport, I don't believe you can. You can go through. You can turn it in at the consulate here in Cebu City, but they have to send it to Manila to get processed there, I believe, and that could take a couple of weeks. And child and family manners. Legal assistance, medical assistance, notary assistance. Services provided by the Social Security Administration are free of charge and include taking claims for entitlement to all types of Social Security benefits, including retirement, survivors, disability, lump sum. So they will take the claims. They will process applications for new and replacement Social Security cards. Why am I having trouble saying that? This morning I've had at least half a cup of coffee here. And a number of other changes of address, direct deposit enrollment, non-receipt of check issues, clearing earnings discrepancies, handling Medicare enrollments, and non-coverage issues. They have in-office appointments and walk-ins, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., except on Philippines and U.S. holidays. And the Philippines has a lot of holidays, and sometimes you won't know until the last minute. I went to immigration here in Cebu City a few weeks ago, and it turned out it was a holiday. It was just a holiday in Cebu. Oh, I actually did have an issue with Social Security after I'd been here. I'd been here 6 months. I went back to the U.S. I came back, and a couple months later, I didn't get my Social Security check deposited. I waited another week, and it wasn't there. I waited another half week, nothing there. So I called them, Washington, D.C. Lady was very helpful, and surprised to me, they answered the phone almost immediately as well. But the time difference was 12 hours, so I had to call at I think 8 or 9 in the evening, which was 8 or 9 in the morning there. But it turned out that I had retired early and had retired in the middle of the year, and you fill out a form about when you're going to retire, how much money you think you're going to make during that period of time, and then your benefits are determined based upon how much you think you're going to make. Because what happens when you retire before, I think, 67 is you're allowed to make 16,000 some dollars a year without any penalty. But after that 16 or 17,000 dollars a year, every dollar you make, or every $2 you make, they take $1 of benefits back, I think is the way it reads. And anyway, I worked a couple extra months and made quite a bit more money than I told them, so they had based my benefits on that original amount. And then about the 8 or 9 months later, when I'm in the Philippines, I don't get a check. And I called them, and they said, well, we sent you a letter. And that letter went to my daughter's address, and she didn't notice it, didn't open it. So I was never contacted, not aware of it. And they said they had given me a choice. I could have taken a smaller amount for a number of months. Not quite sure how long that period would have been. Or the other choice was just not to receive a benefit check for about 5.5, almost 6 months. And anyway, because I didn't respond, they just cut off my benefits for almost 6 months. And they told me, you can go to Manila Embassy. The consulate in Cebu City is not able to process any Social Security issues. You can go to Manila and request that instead they give you lower amounts. It might take a couple of months to process that for it to change. And after I thought about that, I decided just to go ahead and not get a check for 6 months, because by the time the expense of flying up there and back, and the wait of a couple months, and then even then you don't know for sure if you're going to get the change, although it probably would have processed. I didn't come here broke, and I was able to survive that 6 months. But anyway, when I was at the consulate here in Cebu City, I waited for about an hour, and I could kind of overhear a few other people go up. And one thing that will happen quite often is that if you give Social Security Administration a foreign address, my understanding is that they will send you a letter once a year asking if you're alive. And if you don't return that letter, they will cut off your benefits. They're not going to send checks to a deceased person. And what happens too often when you're overseas is that you don't get that letter, you don't respond, and your benefits are cut off. And I heard the cases just in that hour that I was sitting there. I heard two people go up and go through that process, and then it was going to take another month or two before their benefits got restored after they proved that they were not deceased. So those kind of things can be taken care of. And here, transmitting funds to the US Embassy may be something that a Filipina, the wife or girlfriend of the deceased, may be interested in. The cost for funeral arrangements can be expensive, and the estimated cost will fluctuate, of course. If costs are to be borne by relatives or friends in the U.S., the U.S. Embassy can assist with necessary arrangements once funds are received from relatives or friends. And I don't know all the details here, but I would assume that if relatives in the U.S. were going to send money to somebody directly, which you can do through a number of different money transfer services, there is always that question of how will those funds be used. Now, I don't know I don't know the details about how the U.S. Embassy gets involved in this, and how, if they would disperse the funds to the proper people for these issues or not. So down here, the embassy must have confirmation from the State Department that the necessary funds have been deposited before instructing the funeral home to make the necessary arrangements. Therefore, it is imperative that the necessary funds and instructions are provided as soon as possible after the death occurs. And let's go over here to victims of crime. Could be one of the most important areas where you may be able to find assistance from the embassies or consular offices. And there's a number of contact informations there. And how can they help? They can replace a stolen passport. They can help contact family, friends, or employers. Help you obtain appropriate medical care. Address emergency needs that arise as a result of the crime. Explain the local criminal justice process. Obtain information about your case. Connect you to local and U.S.-based resources to assist victims of crime. Compensation, any compensation programs available. Provide a list of local lawyers who speak English. They cannot investigate crimes, provide legal advice, or represent you in court. They cannot serve as official interpreters or translators. They cannot pay legal, medical, or other fees for you. All U.S. states provide victim compensation programs. However, only some states offer benefits to residents or victims overseas. Most compensation programs require the victim to file a report at the time of the incident. So there is one resource you should become familiar with, as well as the State Department website. And you can actually register with the State Department, let them know where you're going to be, and then if there's any issues, they can contact family and friends as well, if that's your wish. And don't forget that in September, those 2 days, I think 11th and 12th, they will have a Social Security personnel at the Consulate, which is at the Waterfront Hotel presently here in Cebu City, down in the basement area, down in the very lower level, and during those hours stated. Anyway, hope that would be helpful, and like I say, become familiar with these websites and what's available, some of the information they have. Thank you for watching. Please like the video, please share the video, please subscribe. Safe travels to you all wherever you're at, and I'll see you next time.